Boa tarde. Hoje vamos descansar. Vamos, vamos não trabalhar com desenhando hoje. Hoje a gente. Eu falo isso enquanto eu seguro a minha caneta. Ai, ai. Hoje eu quero jogar, mano. Quero jogar e eu quero que tenha uma gravação. Alguns jogos eu vou acabar trazendo pra stream. Pra que eu tenha um certo recorde, né? Uma certa gravação, uma memória mesmo que digitalizado desse momento. E pretendo acabar fazendo um canal de VODs para isso. Ainda não fiz, mas provavelmente assim que eu terminar isso aqui eu faça. Ah, eu quero começar agora a listar toda que a gente tem agora a lista lá. Eu vou adicionar futuramente no sobre ali embaixo. A gente vai ter a nossa lista de videojogos. E aí, para estrear, eu quero trazer Stanley Parable. Stanley Parable, porque eu estou com tanta vontade de jogar um jogo de puzzle e, se eu não me engano, o Stanley Parable envolve isso. E também eu tô com. Tava com muita vontade de jogar esse jogo e eu finalmente consegui ele. Finalmente comprei. E agora eu quero apreciá-lo. Essa belezinha aqui. Mal sei coisas do jogo, talvez nem seja de puzzle em si, mas pelo que eu olhava por cima e pensava que era. Pelos comentários. Então, seja o que ele for, vamos descobrir agora. Vamos descobrir a parábola do Stanley. Enfim, vamos dar início sem mais delongas.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Hum.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every
Que
day of
divertido, hein?
every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Era assim.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
Que foi
He had
Stanley?
been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi.
Oh
Never in
não,
all
o
his
dilema da
years at the
liberdade.
company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Não, o Stanley vai ficar. Pode ficar, Stanley. Apreciando esta linda parede acinzentada, essa mesa descascada, esse seu Macintosh. Ó, RGB. Nossa, mas a agachada é rápida. O que tá escrito ali? Vamos dar zoom? Eu tô clicando? Eu tô digitando, nada acontece ali no PC. Não consigo ligar pra ninguém. Uau, até aqui tem teclado. Ah, não parece um rostinho, mano. Mostrando a linguinha. Mré. Olha o first aí do Line. Seja bem-vindo, Line. Mano, por que tudo tem som de teclado? Acho que o Stanley ficou maluco de tanto ficar teclando, mano. Agora ele escuta som de teclado em tudo. Não.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait.
Jogo de pulso.
Nothing will
Jogo
hurt
de
me.
pulso.
Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy.
Isso aí, Stanley.
Waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Ih! Ih, caralho! Veio mesmo! Oxi. Resetou. Deixa eu aumentar, diminuir a sensibilidade do mouse. Cadê? Geral. Nossa, ainda tá muito sensível. Vamos. Dá pra dar-lhe. Deixa eu fechar a porta nova e ele começa de novo.
But Stanley simply
Não!
couldn't handle the
Agora eu
pressure.
quero sair, não!
What if he had to make
Não!
a decision? What if a crucial outcome
Stanley!
fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that.
Não!
This couldn't go
Shit.
anywhere except
Eu acho que eu ia
badly.
poder abrir
The
a
thing to
porta
do
de
now,
novo.
Stanley thought to himself,
Não,
is to wait.
Stanley, não
Nothing will
espere!
hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited.
Huh?
Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do.
Jesse!
Now it's just
Jesse!
a little bit closer.
Deixa o Stanley sair,
Now
Jesse!
it's even closer.
Jesse!
Here it comes.
O Jesse abriu a porta. Obrigado. Tá, agora eu saio. Eu saí. Se eu fechar. Nunca mais eu volto agora. É, de fato, nunca mais eu volto. W. Isso aqui também tem som de teclado. Por algum motivo.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't
Sim.
make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
I hate Monday. É, eu odeio segunda-feira. Quem não odeia?
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Welcome, not really. Who farted? Quem peidou? Deixa eu fuçar nas coisas, mano. Uma planta. Yeah, you can see in the link, the fix link. Number one daddy. Eita, foi mal. PC. Putz, grila, desliguei o PC do Dead. Puta merda. I like work. I like work just. Eu gosto de trabalhar, mas eu odeio o meu chefe. E aquela caneta é o que? Eu não consigo ler. Ela tá virada, mano. It's look wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. E quem não odeia? Tem que odiar o chefe mesmo. Será que se eu me fechar aqui de novo, eu não consigo me fechar? Tá, vamos. Não. Caraca, pintura com som de teclado. Toma. Gostei. Puta merda, mano. Sabe aqueles dias que tá fazendo 40 graus no... Então, é tipo assim. Você olha na janela, tá assim. 40 graus. Puta que pariu, tá quente lá fora. Toma. Desliguei o PC do cara também. Economizar energia, guys. Eu posso pular? Ah, que interessante o botão... Que é isso? Be my Valentine. Valentine? It's a motherfucking Elfant Valentine reference? Surname access. Desliga também. Então aqui a gente tá na nossa gameplay de The Office, só que sem o elenco inteiro do The Office. Ó. Eita. Eita, nós. Eita, subi aqui. Tô preso. Ah, desprendi. Ah, como é que eu boto o resto do input ali, mano? Remlantal 2. Yeah. Quem peidou? Não sei. As portas abrem. A porta tá aberta. Tá bom. I hate Mondays. Não terminou o serviço aqui. Bando de vagabundo. Is this a mask or... No, know if this game have horror. It's my first time playing.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ah, não. Escolhas. Pera, ele falou pra ir pra esquerda? Pô, boa escolha. Always the left side, but... Só porque esse jogo me trola toda vez que eu faço algo que o narrador não quer, eu vou pra direita.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Sim, eu quero admirar, ó. Putz, o cara que tava estressado, hein? Tá todo bagunçado aqui. Ah, aquele PC tá ligado, deixa eu desligar. Tá gastando energia. Não abre. Pô, o pessoal esquece de ligar o PC, mas todo mundo lembra de trancar a porta, né? Esse cara é foda, mano. Eita. Ó, Fence.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Pai número 1, odeio. Sexta-feira, ali a Valentine reference.
Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth
Eu
it.
quero um refri. Me dá uma Pepsi. Me dá uma Pepsi.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and
Eu
reflected
quero a
poorly on
Pepsi.
his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Caralho. O narrador me insultou foda aqui agora, mano. Eu só querendo uma Pepsi, ele me
Stanley
insulta.
sat around waiting for more dialogue. But when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Eu quero a Pepsi. Me dá Pepsi. A hora nem passa. O Stanley tá no... Tá parado no tempo, no Zawardo. Will. Nada de Pepsi, tá. Foda-se. Café? Coffee nuts.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Você diz isso, mas tem uma sala aberta aqui!
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ó, toma. Mas que diabos é o meu trabalho, mano? Que é o The Office mesmo, mano? É um monte de coisa. Vender papel, vender papel. A gente vai cortar papel, vamos cortar papel aqui. Ouviu o chat? Não minta. Não minta. Caralho, onde é que eu tô, mano? Aviso, não salte do elevador de carga enquanto estiver em movimento. Causará morte. Penalidade por mau uso do elevador, carga. Meu Deus.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. You have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Ai, caralho. Ai, that's so funny. Danger everywhere. Eita. Tô com medo dessa placa, mano. O cano. Que susto, porra. Ah, mano, que lugar grande.
Now listen carefully,
no.
This is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
De novo, não. E o mais engraçado é eles terem usado o vermelho pra porta esquerda. Esse jogo tá me testando, mano. Esse jogo tá me testando. Take the blue pill. Let's go!
Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Fuck you!
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked...
Fuck you!
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well,
Sim!
Don't let me stop you.
Obrigado.
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't
Eita
even finished
porra!
this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out
dá pra chegar ali,
specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You give me absolutely
Eu quero
nothing
ver
so
Godzilla.
far. Tell you what.
Ou caminho até aquele lugar ali. Ou aquele lugar ali.
There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Então tá.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Eu acho que tá ok.
Oh, of course. A 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings. Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes? Wonderful.
Yes, yes, yes.
Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Ó. Eita. What? What? This is you? What? Caralho, o jogo fez um recorde de pessoas que pegaram a porta certa. Esse é o seu. Caralho. Poggers. Agora eu vou dar 5 estrelas.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Ah, o quanto eu tô incentivado a... Não.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Ah.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger.
É o quê?
You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Eu estou sentindo muita vontade de largar o bebê e deixar ele no fogo. Eita. Vai não. Não. Ah, vai, foda-se, né?
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
O que você tem para depois jogar?
Yes. This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Hã?
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this
¿Qué?
game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley.
This
And
look
it
like
seems there's even
Firewatch.
more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Caralho. Ele real me levou pro jogo 2. Caralho. E agora? Como é que eu desço? Cadê a escada? Ah, tá. Dá pra pular? Não dá pra pular. Esse jogo tem uma parada interessante de acessibilidade. Dá pra andar só clicando com o mouse direito e arrastando. Isso é uma parada bem interessante.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
O quê?
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
Bloqueio! Não!
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
Não, deixa eu sair. Eu quero...
Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
Tira esses muros, seu Trump! É o jogo do Trump, mano. O cara colocou muros. Ô, muro! Que isso? Line!
See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now,
que eu tô fazendo
is
aqui?
game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Down, 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 down.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Eita porra. Vai, futebol. O atacante tá na cara do gol. O atacante vai ter... Ah, mano!
What are you doing?
Morri.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Gente. Eu acho que eu fiz merda. Eu acho que eu fiz muita merda. Morri. Hã? Gente, esse jogo é infinito, mano. Não tem como terminar esse jogo, não? Não tem... Eu vou pra lá, pra cá, pra lá, pra cá. Bom, pelo menos o cara não tá falando mais na minha cabeça. Ih, tem luz ali. Desliga o PC, filho da puta. Que susto, achei que era alguém ali. E agora? O que eu faço? Eu tô perdido. Filha da puta.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Eu queria que meu modelo tivesse mais expressão pra vocês verem a cara que eu tô de espantado. E voltamos novamente.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vamos lá, speedrun. Ó, ainda tá com input aqui. Ah, será que se eu vim várias vezes aqui, o input muda? Eu posso até preencher aqui. Agora eu tô interessado, vou ficar em loop aqui. Vamos testar outra coisa agora lá. Você quer que eu siga?
When Stanley came
Mas
to
eu
a
não
set
vou.
of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
Corre,
Stanley knew
Stanley.
it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Admirei.
Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Não.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Dessa vez eu não vou pular.
Look,
Ou será que
Stanley,
eu
I think
pulo lá
perhaps we've
embaixo?
gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy.
Vamos tentar
really,
pular lá
I'm
embaixo.
not. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Bom, consegui o que eu queria.
All
Mais
of his
looping.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ué, não era esse PC? Vou ligar o PC. Liga o PC. Obrigado. É real, né? Era pra ser aquele PC lá. Ah, eu fiz alguma coisa errada. E não liga mais. Tristeza. Tá, vamos então seguir o cara lá. Vamos seguir as ordens.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Meu Deus do céu. Profits, profits, profits. O que tem aqui? Ó, stonks. Stonks.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Não. Agora eu vou ficar aqui.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Não, mas eu quero. Tá bem arejado aqui.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Olha, que ferramenta
Are you
bonita.
really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Silver tape. Isso aqui é o quê? Uma pinça?
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever.
O modelo tá muito difícil de conhecer
I
pra
never
mim.
would have thought to mention it.
Esse aqui é do bom, hein? Queria
Maybe
pular.
to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid.
Caralho!
He probably only got the job because of a family connection.
Meu
That's how
Deus!
stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Que isso? Mano!
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area
Imagina se isso
and
acontecesse
instruct another
mesmo.
human to take their
Porra.
place, making sure they understand basic
Seria a notícia do
first-person
século.
video game mechanics
Tão
and filling them in on the history
específico.
of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Não. Agora que você falou tudo isso, eu não vou, não. Ou será que já acabou a interação? É, gastei tudo já. Ó, vou sair, hein? Vou sair, hein? Tá bom, eu saí.
Ah, second player. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Vai mesmo? Que eu tô achando essa vassoura aqui muito da hora, mano. Ó. Ó. Ó, ó. Tá bom. Eu vou. Ou será que não? Eu vou, hein? Ó.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Deixa eu
office.
visitar o negócio de novo. Não consigo. É muito forte. Rapaz. Pera, ele falou pra eu subir ou descer? Eu não... Pior que eu dessa vez não prestei atenção. Vou olhar os dois lá. Eita. Não. Acho que eu prefiro a sala bonitinha lá, mano. Caraca. Morning, morning, morning. Morning and evening, morning for breakfast, morning. Time. Tava bom, né? Porque tudo tem som de teclado. Eu acho que eu devia ter ido pra baixo. O que é aquilo?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
Ih, já esqueci.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Dois, 8, 4, 5. Mas deixa eu... O que isso acontece se eu escrever algo errado? 1, 2, 3, 3...
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
0, 0, 0. 8, 9... Nossa,
2845.
No. 6969. Coloca o contrário. É 2845. Então 5, 4.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Ele abriu sozinho pra mim. Ele abriu pra mim, mano. Pera, ainda dá pra editar? Não dá pra editar. 2. Hoje errei. 2, 8, 4. Ai, ai. Cheguei até algum diálogo. Tá, porra. Tá escuro. Tem lanterna, mano? Pra dar uma lanterna pro Stanley aqui, mano. Eita. Ganhei 2 achievements aqui. E ele disse, faça-se a luz.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Vambora.
Whoops, nope, never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Eu vou vazar, mano.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative.
Caraca, esse narrador é muito específico.
I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
Deixa eu sair, mano. Tem coisa pra explorar lá atrás. Se eu cair aqui. Eita. Ih, buguei. Ih, buguei. Ah, ufa.
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and
Será que dá pra
gentlemen,
ficar
how
indo,
does he keep
subindo?
coming up with all
Que
of
nem
this?
desenho animado já das antigas, mano. Ó, não teve nem cutscene, só foi tirar pra baixo. Vamos lá.
Did you think we were going to go forward down the spooky corridor? No.
No.
It's time once again to go back up in the elevator. I can't even begin to grapple with what might be up there. Is it the boss's office again? Or what if it's the boss's office this time? The suspense is killing me.
Ver narrador puto é a melhor experiência pós-moderna. Que isso?
Oh my god. It's the boss's
Ele botou
office.
uma música.
This absolutely changes everything for me. Give me a time out here for a minute while I process this.
Hã? Genial, mano.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm prepared to embrace this stunning revelation and to move forward with... No! No, wait! No! I need more time to process.
Filha da puta! Ele tá descontando, tá? Pior que ele tá.
All right. I have fully come to terms with it. I have made space in my worldview for this astonishing new reality. As before, I turn to your expert eye for gripping narrative, Master Stanley.
Tem certeza que eu não posso sair daqui? Filha da puta. É? Ah, não, era 285. 845, mas... Ué. Ué. 2845. Mudou alguma coisa aqui, mano? Você falou que não tinha mudado? 69. 69. Ah, o foda agora é descobrir qual que é a senha aqui. Pera, qual que era o mesmo número do Stanley? Era... 427? Não lembro. Mas não deve ser também, eram só 3 números. Tudo tão escuro. Um quarto. Ah, muito matemática. Se for algo baseado nesses
Of
números.
course. Going back down in the elevator. How did I not anticipate it? I mean, sure, now it's obvious, but you have to understand that 30 seconds ago,
Eu
this
vou ter
kind
subir
of
de
thing
novo,
had never
cara.
been attempted before.
Você sabe que eu vou
I had
subir de
no
novo,
frame
né?
of reference to even anticipate it. That's just how revelatory Stanley's decision-making is. A breath of fresh air in a landscape of storytelling that has grown stale and repetitive.
Eu vou subir. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Eita, nós. Que susto. Caralho, mano, que susto. Filha da puta, corno. Mas eu vou subir. Matheus, acho que aquele prêmio vai pedir pra... Isso aí é um...
You know what?
Eita!
I've just thought of something.
A
Hold
gente tá
on,
subindo
let's
pra um lugar
stop for a
diferente.
moment. Don't you realize? It's the anticipation, Stanley. You and I, we have no way of knowing what will be at the top of this elevator. But the suspense, the agony of waiting and anticipating and having to guess, that's the real thrill. Oh, I simply don't want to let that feeling go. It's so precious, so fleeting. Why don't we take this elevator ride nice and slow?
Nossa!
There we go. Isn't this so much more exciting? You know,
Mano,
Stanley,
esse
it seems like
narrador...
nowadays the only thing that audiences want is to be
Ele
shocked
sabe
as
devolver
loudly
na
and
mesma
frequently as
moeda.
possible. They want big, explosive moments flung right in their faces from the very moment that things get started.
Ele
Where's
sabe,
the
ele sabe,
tension?
chat.
Where's the trust in the audience to build a slow and nuanced appreciation for the story, the characters? Why aren't we given time to imagine the surprises, to have to think and to anticipate, and then to marvel at the eventual reveal? This is storytelling, Stanley. What you and I are doing right now. This is the most exciting narrative to be developed in years, and it's really all because of you. You're the one who took this bold step of revisiting the exact same locations over and over. Truly, I mean it. This is unique and different. It's not like anything else out there. You see, I want stories that surprise me, Stanley. I want to have to think. I want to be engaged and not pandered to. We're being fed such unimaginative drivel all the time, and we all know it, which is why we're so starved for content that makes us feel sharp and vital and alive. That's why people like you so much, Stanley. Because you're not afraid to spit in the face of tradition. You're a role model, you know? People look up to you. Which is why, oh, I didn't know when to spring this on you, but, well, I've gathered a little press conference for you, so that you can talk about your work and your storytelling and your life. Yes, I know you're not much for the public eye, but I thought it would especially mean a lot to the people who have been following you from the beginning. They really look up to you, Stanley. I don't know if you realize the impact you have on them. This is the kind of gesture that might leave a tremendous impact on them for the better.
Eita,
Oh, good,
nós.
we're here.
Eu cheguei no Superliminal.
Okay, the room where we're
Eita.
holding the press conference should be just around the corner here somewhere.
O Stanley agora é um idol. Stanley... How we did the pyramids. Como fiz... Ai, mano. Muito bom. The Storyteller. Stanley.
Ah, yes, here it is, just through this door.
Stanley. From the Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable. Stanley. Tonight. Live on stage. Essa mão aqui é clássica. O Alexandre o Grande.
All right, are you ready? I've told them you're going to speak a little bit about the nature of surprise in storytelling and what it means to craft a truly unpredictable narrative. Oh, don't worry, you'll do great. Just be yourself and speak from the heart. I'm really proud of you, Stanley. Okay, it looks like they're ready for you. Go get them.
Sabia que era 427, só que... Eu peguei downline. Story, Sterling, me... Ah, mas tá difícil ler, mas tá muito pequenininho. Era um zoom. The dude... O cara que vem com a pizza. Eita, nós! Ai, meus olhos! É! Stanley! Stanley! Vai, chat! Stanley! 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 Morri. And we're back again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Quebrou o
memo.
computador.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase,
Dessa vez eu vou pra
Stanley
baixo.
walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it.
Olha o carro do
He
Initial
considered the
D.
possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Caraca, é
Why
verdade.
did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these
Stanley
rooms were
pensando.
starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so
Eita.
much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's
Eu
head.
tô em looping
One he
aqui.
was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
Meu Deus, isso tá
And while he thought
muito
it all
complexo.
very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream.
Né?
Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in
Déjà vu.
control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one.
Soninho.
Let me wake up.
Wake
he thought
up,
to
bro.
himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job, All I
Eu
want
quero
is
uma
my
vida de
life
assalariado,
exactly the way it's always been.
explorado pelo capitalismo. Eu
My
quero.
life is
I
normal.
want it.
I am
Give it to me.
normal.
Quero apertar
Everything will be
botão.
fine. I am okay.
I am okay. E de novo o carro do Initial D.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am
Please.
real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Rapaz. Essa
This
crise
is the story
existencial.
of a woman named Mariella.
Hã?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon
Gente.
turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man.
Stanley
He was
morreu.
obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I
Caralho.
am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this.
O carro
and
do
in a
déjà vu
certain
tá ali,
way,
tá?
seeing this man made
É o
her
mesmo
feel
carro.
better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body.
Caraca, vai ficar olhando.
And then she turned and ran.
Caralho, Mariela. Lá vamos nós de novo. Pera. Tá diferente isso. Já volto aqui.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Porque o jogo, acho
Yet
que o
there
jogo
was
só
not a
adiantou pra
single
gente uma
person here
caminhada.
either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his
Tá,
boss.
já
Coming to a
desci, então
staircase,
vamos subir.
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Aqui. Bom, tem um banheiro que a gente já olhou. Tem ali a porta do chefe, né? Ah, posso estar aqui. Não sabia. Ele muda de PC. Que isso? Vamos subir? É, faz sentido, chat. Musiquinha. Stanley. É. Bossa nova de Stanley. Mano, esse jogo tá maneiro. E uma hora chega? Ó, voltou pro mesmo lugar? Não. Quer descer? Desce. É. Pelo visto não vai em lugar nenhum.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Você não consegue fazer uma pessoa com ansiedade ficar calma assim.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
A gente já brincou com você de subir pra cima e pra baixo. Vamos seguir caminho então agora. Agora a gente segue caminho. Só agora. Tá porra.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Lá vem. Rota de fuga? Eu não consigo subir.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The
Eu
door
quero
behind
fugir.
him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Vou morrer. Morri. Pronto. Stanley morreu de novo. Ou não.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he
Eita
reflected that his
porra!
life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man.
Deixa eu sair.
So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Eu vou até agachado. Ué.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant,
Eita, outra narradora.
Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Stanley? The Stunning Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Que isso, cidade copiada?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from
Olha
the
aí,
moment he hit
maquete
start?
exatinha ainda. Exata do começo do jogo. Mostra planta do escritório. Esta planta mostra o escritório do início do jogo. O caminho do escritório de Stanley até as duas portas foi a primeira parte do jogo a ser projetada. Durante o processo de desenvolvimento, outras seções foram adicionadas e alteradas, embora a planta principal permanece quase idêntica à primeira versão. Computador do Stanley. Pinturas de natureza. É a debug room que a gente tá. Corredor. O ritmo dessa sessão de abertura era crucial para o jogo. Esse corredor foi movido e alterado para garantir que o jogador pudesse chegar às duas portas no momento certo. Caralho. As duas portas. O conjunto das duas portas abertas foi a primeira peça concreta do design de Stanley Parable. Assim que essa sala foi criada, o resto do jogo surgiu como uma extensão dela, como uma exploração da contradição representada por esta sala. Os escritórios. Nada? Nada interage. Sons de botões. Uma seção de sons usados ao longo do jogo quando os botões são pressionados. Cada som é uma mistura de um toque e uma tecla com um som sintetizado. É, pior que parece mesmo. Armários de arquivos. Computadores de escritório. Liga tudo. Gasta energia não. Caraca, os créditos. Ai, ai. Relógio do escritório. Escritório do chefe. Caraca! Olha os modelos, mano. As versões, que da hora. O longe. Zona subterrânea.
Oh, I don't know how. Now then, this elevator for sure.
Não, depois eu vou ali, ali parece que tem coisa. Final da Liberdade. Essa foi a primeira encarnação do Final da Liberdade na versão alfa do jogo. Caraca, eu não consegui essa versão. Essa experiência, porque o jogo não é. Que isso, Cauli? Meses de contagem agressiva. Uma das mesas de uma versão inicial do final da contagem agressiva. Elevador da sala de monitores. Final da Liberdade. Esse é o final da Liberdade que integrou a versão beta. Puto. Sala de contagem agressiva. Uma versão inicial da sala de contagem agressiva. Eu nem cheguei nessas salas! Maquete do design do jogo. Esse é o nível que o William, design de níveis, enviou a Davey, o roteirista, como uma espécie de propósito. O grande potencial desse nível fez com que William fosse contratado para projetar o jogo completo. Embora que grande parte do ambiente tenha mudado o layout original, este modelo ainda está presente no jogo. É bem Portal, né? Da Aperture, a vibe disso aqui. Usar aquela estética, sistema de Big Corp americana, só que devastado. Escritório do Stanley. Da esquerda para a direita, a evolução do escritório de Stanley ao longo do tempo. O primeiro foi criado em 2011, o segundo em março de 2012 e o terceiro em fevereiro de 2013. Toma. Esse era o escritório do Stanley. Depois ficou assim. E terminou assim. Notaram a diferença, chat? Ó, tava ali. Ele tá assim. O longe. É a sala dos funcionários. Escritório. Are you a rock? Não, eu sou do rock. E-mails para o narrador. Após o segundo trailer que divulgamos, pedimos às pessoas que enviassem perguntas por e-mail ao narrador. Embora o plano inicial fosse usar esses materiais promocionais adicionais, nunca chegamos a encontrar a forma perfeita de aproveitá-los. Aqui está uma seção desses e-mails. Podia estar traduzido isso aqui, mas tá tudo bem. Não vou ficar lendo isso aí não. Eita, não. Ó, o Stanley cheio de dinheiro! Anúncio de Ultra Deluxe. Em dezembro de 2018, anunciamos uma versão Ultra Deluxe de Stanley Prime no TGA. Essas são as capturas de tela dos vídeos que fizemos para o anúncio e o atraso do jogo. Fun. Zona de guerra. Ó, Tron o legado aqui, mano. Toma. No início do desenvolvimento, projetamos um final em que Stanley acabaria em um campo de batalha lutando contra alienígenas. O jogo de ação ganharia consciência e declararia guerra contra o narrador. Logo após começarmos sua construção, percebemos que era algo jocoso e irônico demais para o tom do jogo. Além disso, algumas pessoas interpretaram isso como se fosse uma forma de tirar sarro dos fãs de jogos de tiro, o que não era a nossa intenção. Pior que esse é fácil mesmo interpretar isso mesmo, mano. Fazer bem isso. Né? Sala de manutenção. É. Do jeito que é o jeito desse jogo, ele de fato ia soar mesmo como uma sátira ao FPS. Agora eu vou lá pra sala que tem papo. Gravações cortadas na narração. Esse nome aí, que dá voz no narrador, gravou os diálogos de todo o jogo cerca de 3 vezes ao longo de 2 anos de envolvimentos. Essas gravações totalmente iniciais não foram usadas no jogo.
Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his button pushing? Does that sound plausible to you? He pushed the number 9.
He pushed the number 9.
Stanley stood on the snow. Now look closely, Stanley.
A voz dele me lembra o... Ai, para de falar na minha cabeça. Tudo que ela me disse, está na minha cabeça. É, lembra do irmão do Jimmy, do Better Call Saul. Aí agora, eu tô preso aqui? Já vi tudo, mano. Posso ir embora? É, na porta. Mano, e agora? O que eu faço pra sair daqui? Mas eu sempre ignoro o narrador. Envolver. Ah tá, aqui é a saída.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Sim.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another?
Não.
No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Ninguém manda em mim! Ninguém manda em mim! Lá vamos nós de novo.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Novamente se encontramos aqui.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Speedrun.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Agora
Okay,
deixa
I think
ele
we
falar,
all
senão
know
ele
the
vai
drill
ficar
by now.
puto.
Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some
Ele
buttons.
não
Oh,
vai
hey,
ficar
look,
puto.
it's a new passageway.
Ele já
Kill
aceitou.
surprise.
Ele aceitou a speedrun. Eu gosto desse jogo, ele vai se adaptando, então não fica o mesmo looping, né? Ele se adapta ao que você fez, já fez e não fez.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Tá, cheguei.
The lights rose on an
Eita.
enormous room packed with television
É
screens.
aquela sala lá
What horrible
do...
secret did this place
X-Men.
hold? Stanley thought to himself.
É
Did
do
he
X-Men
have
que
the
tem uma sala
strength
cheia de
to find
tela?
out?
E tem um globo aqui no meio? Acho que sim.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true
Nossa.
nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
Ah, eu tava
Stanley's
tentando procurar meu
co-workers.
número.
The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant
Creio que
nothing.
427. Ali, ó. A gente é ali. Beleza. Olha a nossa salinha ali. Bonita.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Pior que foi. Pior que foi.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
E aí, jogo? Tela preta pra sempre? Ah.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled
Mind
with
control
emotions.
stats offline.
Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Botão. O que é isso? Por que tem um meio aqui caótico aqui, mano? Qual que é o sentido disso aqui? Eu quero subir ali pra apertar o botão. Mas não tô enxergando nada. Tá tudo tão escuro. Nada. Nenhum botãozão aqui. Alguma coisa nessa ponte? Não, né?
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Ai, mano. Pior que eu queria desligar mesmo, mas, né?
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Eita.
Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really
Eu
do.
quero
But you
controle.
need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me.
Ai, são 4. Cadê o 3?
I barely know where to
Cadê o
start.
3?
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what?
Não tem
To
zero.
hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the
E
clock.
agora?
Why not?
Eu não sei.
These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Fudeu.
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now?
Correct.
Or did you just assume when you saw that timer
Meu Deus.
that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button,
Será que eu tenho que apertar o
screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door.
No.
Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved?
Não, eu quero
Do you
tentar isso de
have
novo
any
agora.
idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see
Ainda não
you
sei
made
como resolver
humble.
isso.
This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to
Tá,
control
porra, deu
this
tudo
world,
errado.
that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
Adeus.
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle.
Thank you
30
forever,
seconds until a
Shot.
big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me.
Vai,
All
Janila,
part of the
volte,
journey.
Janila.
And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable
Press
life
F
from the moment we fade
no
in
chat pro
until
Stanley.
the moment I say happily ever up.
Vamos lá, de
All
novo.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hã? Hã?
Oh, New content? What does that mean, new content?
Eita. Ih. Mano, esse jogo não tem fim, mano. Jogo infinito.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on
Deus
home
e o gato.
computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting
Ih,
new content
tomou bomba.
that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this
Não sou
sounds
amada,
delightful.
calma.
I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe
Eu já tô até
content.
acostumado com meu pai não atender minha ligação.
Okay,
Inclusive.
so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Speedrun, já estamos na DLC do jogo.
Is it broken?
É,
What's
isso que eu ia
going on
falar.
here? Should we be moving somewhere or oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Do it! Do it, chat.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Cadê o conteúdo? Ah, não.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Mano, nem ferrando, mano. O novo conteúdo de DLC. Pule. Não pule! Guilty Gear 2024. Vai, vai, vai. Só mais duas. Dezenas. Isso, 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 isso. Se o osso clica em círculo, Stanley Parable, você pula em círculo. E eu não posso mais pular. Acabou. Acabou meus pulos. Eu sou impulável agora, mano.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes.
Vamos lá.
I knew there had to be something else. Let's
Ó,
see it. I'm ready for
lugar
whatever it
fancy.
is.
Eita, ponte renderizando mal, né? Obrigado por
That's it?
desfrutar.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the
Cinema.
level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally
Ih!
accountable. It's my fault.
Vai falar
Stanley.
mal no
I
Twitter.
built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, No gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
What do you say, friend? Ó. Tá diferente aqui. Onde é que eu tô? Tô na lagoinha? Ai, mandei. Umas saudades.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
Pera aí, mano. Deixa eu olhar aqui o lugar.
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine.
Tá, eu
You're
vou
a
ver.
dog.
Essa vez eu vou...
Never mind. You're not a dog.
É isso? Cafinete. Vem cá. Vem cá pegar pega a balinha, Stanley. Vem cá, pega a balinha. Pega a balinha.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Take a look. Caraca! Eu vou pra Dark Souls, mano. Que isso? Virou Dark Souls a parada. Ah, mas também depois do jogo ter virado Rocket League, não, acho que eu não me surpreendo mais não, mano.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Stardew Valley. Zona de memória. Não se esqueça. Não se esqueça. Stanley Parable. Não se esqueça. Caurinho, vamos usar isso aqui no negócio do remédio lá. Não se esqueça. Zone, sweet zone.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Em 2013, mano. Buy on Steam. Nossa, um print do navegador do Windows. Nossa! Nossa! Nossa, Firefox, mano! 2013, Windows 7. Nossa! Nossa! Mozilla Firefox. Nossa! Nossa! Assim você me mata. Monster. Sorrir porque aconteceu. Nota de $1, porque sim. Demonstration. Ah! As conquistas. Ah, é, tem uma. Pra vocês que não sabem, Stanley Parable tem uma conquista de você ficar sem jogar o jogo por 5 anos. É. É mole. As nomeações. Ó, que da hora. Ó, musiquinha.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim. It was Persona 3.
Era Skyrim, era Persona 3.
It's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Era Skyrim Persona 3. Muito bom. The Person of the Year, Stanley. Narrador. Caurinho adorou o narrador, né, Caurinho?
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories. These were simpler times, Stanley, but I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again.
Não consigo tirar aquelas caixas.
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Eita.
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam,
the
online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here.
Não é
Surely
possível.
these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Não é possível. Não é possível que vai ter review da Steam aqui. Mano!
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny!
Cara!
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Pra quem se perguntava qual que era a Steam verde, você só manda esse print aqui, ó. Isso aqui que é Steam verde. Isso aqui que é uma Steam verde. Vou printar aí. Mandar aí. Os amiguinhos. Isso aqui que é Steam verde. Ih, mais review negativa. Mano, não é possível.
While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley
Narrador
parable
tá
isn't
triste,
quite as
Claudinho.
sterling as I always remembered.
Narrador tá triste.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive
Players
reviews of the
Genshin be
Stanley
like...
Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Ah!
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll
Eu não
zip
vou
right past it.
apertar. Vamos
It's
ver o
what
que
the players have
acontece.
been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit
Eu
around
lembro
waiting for me
dessa
to
parte.
shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've
Boa
just
sorte,
begun
então.
an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this.
É muito longo mesmo?
And the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. That the logic of the
Na verdade,
elimination working
sim.
backwards, the deduction therefore becomes
É, foi
impossible
mal
to
do narrador.
manufacture. It went on for nearly
Infelizmente.
10,000 years until just
Que ele começou a imitar o... É verdade, né? Ele ficou que nem o bolso. Eu tô ok, só faltou mandar um tá ok.
There is. How many billions left until so much more than forever
Tem como eu
ago?
fazer outra
Which is
coisa
why
aqui,
I
além de ficar
say,
esperando?
the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming
É,
it
tá
is,
parecendo muito
so on and so
Bolsonaro
forth,
mesmo.
until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just
Ah, ele
yet.
fica se repetindo
until
também.
240.
Aqui se foda então.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer.
Perdi a
That
porta.
last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back.
A planta
Oh,
morreu.
goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks.
E assim a gente zera Genshin Impact.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything.
Ai, mano. Ele desistiu de falar. E aí, não vai falar nada não? Vai falar nada não? Hã? Pô, eu quero muito que ele solte uma frase e eu insta vou... Mano, eu tô com o dedo coçando aqui pra apertar. Eu acho que ele não vai falar nada não. É tolo, narrador. Cadê você? Seu malvado. Rolou incêndio?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said...
Mano, é infinito isso aqui. O trecho mais longo do Stanley Parable. Nossa, eu tenho água agora.
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never
Is
the
never the
end,
end,
is never
is
the
never the
end,
end,
is never
is
the
never the
end, is
end,
never
is
the
never the
end, is
end.
never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
Ele enlouqueceu.
End is never the end.
Me deixa sair daqui! Eita porra! Olha o que você fez. Eu deixei o narrador malusco. Eu ainda não posso ir embora, eu quero ir embora. Deixa eu ir embora. Mano! Ah, morreu todo. Estou ficando com um legítimo cagaço. Bem-vindos a Red Dead Redemption. O botão parou de funcionar? Liberdade! Finalmente! Liberdade! Sem narrador, sem paredes, sem portas, apenas a vastidão das planícies dos planaltos e da tela preta que mais vi jogar pra... de volta pra cá.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
Huh? New contents. Novos.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Mostra. O que é melhor que a mecânica do botão de pular e a mecânica do botão de esquipar? Essas mecânicas são fodas, tá?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley
não!
2.
Ah, não! Ah, não, eu vou embora! Eu vou embora! Stanley Parable 2! Não! Ah, não, mano, de novo, não! Não aguento mais! Eu não consigo mais suportar! Eu não consigo mais suportar! O Stanley Parable 2! Mano, até Stanley Parable sofreu dessa maldição do mesmo jogo, só que 2.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Na moral, o Stanley Parable previu o Overwatch 2, mano. Os caras já sabiam, mano.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just
Ó,
so
até a
much
máquina é
catchier
nova.
than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
É o Stanley Parable com direção artística do Mirror's Edge. As duas portas. Ai, ai. São dois Stanleys! Vão ser dois Stanleys! Stanley Parable 2 vai ser dois Stanleys. Stanley Parable co-op?
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
New features. Novos conteúdos. Dois. Não, é inevitável o 22, né, mano? É inevitável. Quanto você menos espera, tá lá, estará lá. Um monte de 22. Não importa como você olhe, sempre terá um 22 nesse painel. O paradigma do 22.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Playing the game. What?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind,
What?
my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Too small, just right. Too big. É aniversário de novo? Pera, é seu aniversário, Corin? Hã? Hã? Que? Calma. Try here.
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the
Jim.
full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Se
I want
torne
you
o
to
Jim.
imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim.
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand
Se
the
foda,
impact
Jim.
of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says
Jim
someone else's
Arts.
name. Okay, we're doing it again. And this time, let me finish first.
A partir de hoje eu sou o Jim Arts.
Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim, developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim, rediscovering yourself through fringe religious groups as Jim, and finally dying a slow death at an old age surrounded by members of your cult as Jim. Do you feel it in your soul? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Pera, quê? É, Connie.
Jim. Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again. Jim. Ooh. It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. Jim. Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Eu não sou mais o Jim Arts. Ele tirou minha identidade de Jim.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Ou eu muito usaria essas duas camisas aqui, mano. Essas duas camisas aqui eu usaria. Isso aqui vai parecer que eu saí do McDonald's, mano. Please no screenshots. O balde reconfortante de Stanley Parable 2.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Ok. Agora eu posso ir embora? Eu vou levar o balde? Então tá.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Meu Deus, o bebê cresceu! O bebê cresceu!
You know what?
Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle.
Pois é.
Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
Não vou poder pular no Stanley Parable 2 porque eu gastei todos os meus pulos no Stanley Parable 1. Faz muito sentido nisso. Please, no screenshots.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I
Ah!
think that in the new version, the office
Vocês
could
sabem
use a
que
bit of
esses números
decoration,
significam.
like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Mas te tomar no cu, narrador. Ai. Porra.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Significa meu aniversário só. Parece meio suspeito, né? Mano, é muita coisa, meu Deus. Buraco infinito. Just keep go.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Eu pulo aqui depois. Porque eu tenho a impressão que eu não volto mais. Nesse jogo, quando você pula e vai pro além, você não volta mais. Eu creio. Não sei mais, às vezes esse jogo surpreende. Puxe a alavanca, se opcional.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Vai. Força. É. Só no Stanley Parable 2 mesmo. Vou ficar aqui com meu balde.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet? Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Dá pra ir coletar? Eita, nós. Ah, é um Stan, uma figura do Stanley.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Saída. Tinha uma coisa aqui, não tinha? Epílogo.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Ah, eu quero pular logo no buraco lá, mano. Eu não tô me aguentando. Já vi que tem uma saída, então é capaz de só ser um buraco rasinho e aí era picadeira. Ih, ele fechou o buraco? Não dá pra pular mais?
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top and we can continue onward.
Vou apreciar pouco o momento da queda infinita.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Rapaz, é fundo mesmo, hein?
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole.
Não, eu quero buraco infinito
I'll just be
mesmo.
up here when you're ready.
Me dê o buraco infinito. É, não vai falar mais nada.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
É que dá pra pular de novo?
Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you?
É, o buraco tá
I
mais
couldn't help but
curto.
feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite.
Ah,
Well, I suppose
safado.
once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow, okay.
Nossa, foi
Yeah.
muito mais curto
I'm
mesmo.
starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The
Eita.
shame of my lie has come to haunt me. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here
É
to do.
piscininha,
Hit
bota
the
água aqui,
teleport button
piscina.
when you're ready to move on. Is the, teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I
Sim.
mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again.
Não tá funcionando, tô
Still
clicando.
nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I
Não,
hope
me
you
tira
and the
daqui.
hole have a wonderful rest of eternity.
Não. Filho da mãe. Me tire. Me tire do buraco. Que barulho foi esse? Se alguém aparecer lá naquela porta, eu vou ficar com um cagaço, mano. O buraco tá descendo. Chat. A parabólica do Stanley. Gente, eu estou sendo consumido pelo cu. Eita! A cara do Stanley é feia pra dedéu! E agora, Stanley? Hã? Ué, a musiquinha ficou. Mude sua realidade. Meu Deus. Meu Deus, o vídeo de doguinhos. Mano. Caraca, mano, vídeo de doguinhos. Ai, que coisinha mais fofa. Onde que você vê?
My head's stronger. Now you're no longer using up the space of mine.
Mano, o que tá acontecendo com o jogo?
You're no longer using up the space of mine.
O jogo tá derretendo, mano.
My head's stronger.
Stanley?
You're no
Stanley?
longer.
Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we
Ah,
can't have
acabou
that,
os
Stanley,
cachorrinhos.
because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole?
Deixa
From
eu
the
sair
looks of
daqui,
things,
mano.
you and I will
Eu
have
queria te
many,
irritar.
many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodle-pip.
Filha da mãe. Filha da mãe. Me deixa sair do buraco. Eu vou viajar na panela? Ah, não. Eu vou embora, não.
here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Tá, eu já vi o do Jim. Eu vi. Tem esse pego, tem a saída ali. Já peguei ali. Free Achievement. Merge. Falta ver aqui. Campeão mundial de Não dá pra abrir? É uma pena. Não posso mais pular. E aqui em cima? A saída é pra lá, né? Ah, não dá pra ir ali. Então vamos embora.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Sim. Please, no screenshot.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features?
No.
Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay.
Mostra.
Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much
Tá bem ruim, hein,
I feel
moço?
good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
Tá pior
Who
ainda.
am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game.
Não vou soltar.
I wanted fans to love it.
Eu não sei
matter
porquê,
how good
mas eu
these
não
gags
solto
are,
esse
they
balde.
won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully,
Olha o Overwatch 2
with
acontecendo.
respect, with care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip
Overwatch
something
2
up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Eita, nós! Olha ele aí! Mano, caraca. Muito bom. Só vamos.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Eu vou deixar rolar pra ver as diferenças.
Stanley worked for a company
Os
in a big
balões!
building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Was happy.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened.
Get well
This
someday.
complete isolation.
Eu não tanco essa
Something was
frase.
very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Então agora tá normal.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ah, não.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Toma. Ué, botou um negócio ali pra atrapalhar, filho da mãe. O mesmo jogo, só que 2.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his
Aqui
chest
fica o dilema.
and entered the
Vai
door
mudar
on his
se eu for
left.
pra direita? Será que muda?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was.
É, mudou
How
o diálogo,
insightful
mas...
the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Como eu não tinha vindo aqui, eu nem sei o que vai ter diferença, mas vamos ver o que tem aqui.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another
Deixa meu
story
balde.
involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Ih, mano,
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this.
fanservice!
But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Não, meu balde.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original
No.
game, but it's such a
balde.
well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Meu balde.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it
Desculpa,
into the
narrador,
machine
tô
when you're
contra
ready.
você. Meu balde, ninguém sai.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the bucket destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the bucket destroyer, you would see that its desire to
Meu
crush
balde!
buckets is so densely loaded
Não
with
vou soltar
complexity
meu
and
balde!
nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of bucket destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the bucket destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the bucket destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Ai. O fã morreu aqui, mano. Com essa... Nossa, foi pro céu agora. Na vida real também.
The bucket destroyer. My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Que balde não faz? Skyrim já apresentou pra gente o que balde não faz.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Ah, eu não chequei os computadores. Não. Meu balde, ninguém sai.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Mano, agora eu quero real entender como é que funciona aquela explosão nuclear.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Speedrun.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Calma.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world.
Meu
At this
único amigo é
point,
balde.
he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Balde.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy,
Vamos
or
lá, vamos
sad,
tentar
or
de novo.
content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machine... But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself?
O plano maligno do
Trading
balde.
like this, Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds.
Hã?
Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Passarinhos.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him.
Eita, que
This
pássaro
wasn't
é
a
esse?
mind control facility at all.
Que
It was a
isso?
facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world.
Que
The mind controls
grossura.
were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along?
É a Subaru.
Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flitting through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Stanley estava feliz. Acho que eu vou ter que ser um balde, mano.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to
Pra fazer
himself.
negócio
Minutes?
nuclear.
Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned?
Adeus,
He
balde.
made a note to be more careful with time. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
É assim, acabou o arco do balde.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Here's the door, just go.
É. Vamos lá, vamos tentar fazer o final nuclear. Sem meu balde.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself.
Saudades
Did he
balde.
have the strength to
Hashtag
find
saudades
out?
balde. Hashtag.
Now the monitors
Engraçado,
jumped to
né? A
life.
gente perdeu a
Their true
cultura de
nature
falar
revealed.
jogo da
Each
velha,
bore
né?
the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Vambora.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable.
Never.
Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
Yep.
After
Eu
they
quero fazer
kept you
esse final.
enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me.
Nada acontece.
Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? But you really believe there's an answer? How many times will you replay this bit, looking desperately for a solution? 10? 100? 1,000? I look forward to finding out and to watching the bomb go off.
Acho que não tem como, mano. Ou sei lá.
Just you and me in the retching explosion of
Dá
fire
jeito
and
de...
metal over and over and over for all of eternity. And Stanley died again. And Stanley died again. And Stanley died again. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here.
Yeah.
Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice.
A única maneira que eu sei de resolver esse puzzle é ele destrói.
It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke.
And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in.
Ah, já dá pra iniciar?
Stanley knew the office layout like the
Vamos
back
lá
of his
desligar
hand.
então.
It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
Não tenho
he entered
capacidade
the door
mental
on his
pra...
left.
Vou ver depois se tem como, porque a única coisa que eu imaginei que era possível... Ele
Yet there
explodiu.
was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief,
Pera,
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's
Tô
office,
parado.
hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Diga, Caurim, o que você disse pra eu esperar? E assim nunca mais Caurim voltou entre nós.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Here's the door, just go.
Here's the door, just go. Não dá tempo pra resolver aquilo, não. Deve ter um jeito. Mas como?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Deixa eu ir logo.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place.
And as
Vamos
the
lá.
cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over...
Desliguei. Acabou.
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange
tentei resolver o puzzle lá
But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he
nuclear,
realized
mas
none
não
of this mattered
consegui.
to him, for it was not
eu só
knowledge or
vim
even
apertar o
power
botão
that
para
he had
desligar.
been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know.
E agora tô indo embora.
The only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Eu tô feliz. Beat the game! E aí a gente provavelmente vai voltar pro ciclo. Oh yeah. Palmas! Quero aplausos! Quero aplausos! Saudades balde. Não, balde não, só... Vamos ver como é que é a run com o balde desligando. Mas isso aí foi Stanley Parable. Agora a gente vai com o balde só para ver como é que fica o final. Ué, o corredor tá diferente.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Não, só quero ver esse... Porque o do nuclear altera com o balde.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to
Só
discover
quero ver
not an
mesmo, aí a gente
indication of
encerra
any
a
human
live.
life. Crushed by the... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical.
Porque o balde, ele é meta. O jogo já tem um monte de final. Aí o balde, se levar o balde, tipo, aparentemente vai te dar mais finais ainda. Ai, ai.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Mas te falar, gostei. Carismático o jogo. Eu achava que ele ia ter um pouquinho mais de coisa pra interagir e fazer. Mas... Tirando isso, bacana, divertido. Caramba, um jogo que fez a gente jogar Rocket League. Sem ser Rocket League é impressionante.
And Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
E esse vai ser o primeiro jogo zerado em live com VOD que a gente vai upar eventualmente no YouTube.
Reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket
E a
under
gente
the
vai ficar
mind
fazendo
control
essas marcações
facility's
quando
influence
tiver
as well?
live de gameplay.
Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do?
Não vai ter dia
What
certo para live
kinds
de
of
gameplay,
things does a
mas
bucket want to
provavelmente
do or not want
toda
to
vez
do
que a
in the
gente
first
terminar
place?
uma commission, a
These
gente
questions
sempre
raced
tira um dia de
furiously
break,
in
né? Um dia
Stanley's
de descanso.
mind.
Então a gente vai tirar um dia pra jogar
No!
alguma
He
coisa,
screamed into the
provavelmente.
bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own
Vai ter a
life
nossa
in
lista
someone
do Excel
else's
também,
control.
que é
Never!
do
He
planilhas do
squeezed the bucket tighter.
do
His one
Google,
friend in
que
the
a gente
entire
usa lá.
world.
O Google
At this
Sheets.
point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with
Ele vai primeiro
emotions.
jogo zerado em
Happy,
live.
or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place.
É
And
agora,
as the
guys.
cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery...
É,
Stanley and the bucket
Você estava.
waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their
balde.
greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley
Andar de
wanted to sneeze in
patins.
every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the other.
Caraca.
True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and to... What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the
Hey.
door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, or go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
É. O balde. Ele é amaldiçoado. O balde é amaldiçoado. Ele tudo faz errado. Tudo dá errado com o balde na mão. Que horror. Ai. Mas é isso, pessoal. 3 horinhas e pouca de live. Muito obrigado aí por todo mundo que compareceu, interagiu no chat, assistiu, jogou comigo. Espero que vocês tenham um ótimo dia aí, uma ótima noite calorosa aí, com seja lá o que vocês for fazer. Insira uma atividade para vocês fazerem aí na minha frase. Enfim, adeus a todos. Até mais. Ou até nunca mais. Falou! The end is never the end.